When we started out, my original idea with the event was let's do something that we can get more people into Web3. And that is still part of the goal. But as we started looking at it and really understanding more aspects of the technology and this massive number of companies out there and really where it's at, it's honestly not ready for prime time yet. But it's on the verge of it. So if you think you're coming into it now and you're late, you're still not late. You're still pretty early. You're not the earliest. You can't claim first, but it's still a pretty early time to get in on it. So, anyways, we decided to shift more towards serving those educators and evangelists of people who are trying to learn, as well as certain early adopters who are community leaders, entrepreneurs, social impact folks, and small business people, as well as, of course, artists, because artists are a huge part of this. So the whole creator economy, and others who are just trying to kind of figure this out and are willing to put up with some of the insidery jargon, and push through some of the pains of using this early technology to try to learn more, to understand how it will impact their future, so that they're going to be there in advance of it all arriving and be ready for it when it comes. And I would say it's like the equivalent of being on CompuServe or Prodigy in the early 90s, preparing you to get onto the internet and the web when it blew up in the mid 90s. But the conference itself, to your point, we're pitching the Unconference because we want it to be for everyone. We're pitching the Unconference because we want to learn, and there's so much going on. We don't know everything. We don't know. Shoot, I barely know anything about this, and I'm still learning like everyone else. And so the Unconference is that opportunity to get a real view into what is it that people want to learn, what is it that people want to do, what is it that they're trying to accomplish, and then to allow the space in which those ideas can grow. So it's really, really exciting. But the challenge being to make it inclusive so that we're able to actually, not exclude people. We really wanted to do it for free. But it's not free to produce. It costs, we've got a team, we've got graphics that had to be built. Whatever. We spent some money, and we're going to lose some money at the end of the day. But we had to find a way to offset the cost. So what we realized the best pattern to follow is what I learned in the very early days of a bunch of this internet stuff. In fact, following what the Internet Identity Workshop did, which is a fantastic group putting out identity standards and open source stuff, single sign-on, so many other things that they've been involved with over the years. But anyways, was to do a summit leading into the Unconference. So we have a summit day, a leadership summit, that is charged. Ticket price is $310. We're going with the 3-1 theme, just like, we're holding the event on the Unconference on March 1st. So that's where we hit the $310 and try to make it all thematic. But what's we're able to do is offset the cost of putting it all together by holding the leadership summer for maybe a smaller group of people who are really interested, who really need to learn from experts that are out there. And so we've been able to pull together through Tina Hui's network and my own and all of our friends some amazing speakers. We pre-recorded something with Bram Cohen the other day. Bram's the guy who created BitTorrent, basically, one of the chief developers. He's also behind a new project called Chia, which has a different approach to doing cryptocurrency and blockchain-based transactions. Really some fascinating stuff, and his insights. You'll see them first thing in the morning because we have it going to be rolling as people roll into the leadership summit at 8 a.m. on Monday, the 28th. And then followed by that, after we get the whole thing underway, we've got Brian Solis, famous author. He's now at Salesforce as like the innovation guru over there, or one of them, because I know there's a lot of innovation folks over there I really love. And of course, Jennifer, who's on this show right now in this space, Jennifer Navarrete, e-podcaster, is going to be talking about podcasting in Web3 and some really interesting things that she talked to me about. I'll let her tell you a little more about her session here in a moment. But then we've got experts in AI we've got experts in leadership. In fact, I've built an entire little mini leadership track in the morning where we're going to be talking about the power of culture to create sustained engagement, and how culture is the big factor that changes the difference between your actual performance and your potential performance of any team or organization. And when we really get into it, it turns out that the catalytic element there is co-ownership. So as we look at Web3, we think it's really important for people getting involved. And I'm going to drop a couple buzzwords perhaps. There's these things called DAOs, which are a new type of community organization, but they very much operate like co-ops or collectives of the past. They just have a technology basis upon which they operate, and a couple of obviously new cultural nuances. But understanding organizational culture and how to create sustained community engagement is essential for these types of new community organizations, for these new guilds, really, is how I look at DAOs. And there's a bunch more to talk about on that. And then, of course, getting into some of the more specific stuffs about NFTs. We've got one of the co-founders of Coco NFT, something maybe you probably haven't heard about yet, coming out of Vancouver, out of a hackathon up there. They actually are able to turn your Instagram photos into NFTs and make them available for sale, right? So like that's the sort of cool stuff that goes back to that. How do we make something simple for everyday people to use where they can get involved? And, I've set up a few of our golden retriever puppy photos in my own Coco NFT marketplace over there. I just set it up the other day, but, just trying to sell them for maybe 50, 60 bucks and try to make some money on some of these. It's a great opportunity for photographers and artists. And then even beyond that, we're getting into investing in crypto, and we've got Thor Mueller talking about DAOs, and let's see, Amy Lee McDaniel is a really great lawyer who's going to be talking about digital rights management and IP. We're talking about education. Actually, a really fantastic young guy called Agustin Cortez has developed a new idea around how do we take our reputation and our skills and our competencies and be able to carry them with us so that others may be able to see them more easily, that we basically own our own reputation and how we move that forward. And then I've got actually a couple of people who aren't necessarily anti-Bitcoin, but they're anti what some people call maximalist. And they're the people who are shouting from the rooftops, like, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. It's going to change everything. It change the world. It's a lot of hype men sort of stuff. That's one of my biggest problems, by the way. Too many hype men, too much sizzle, not enough steak. So we got to look around a lot more closely for a lot of that. But then we're also talking about local startup ecosystems and how local startup ecosystems are actually tapping into the power of DAOs and cryptocurrencies to create entirely new forms of local ecosystems supporting startups through a pay it forward sort of model. And gosh, there's just so much more than that. But so the idea being very simply, again, and go back to the simple side, is there's the Unconference Day, March 1st, which is really the lead and the main focus. We've already got 150, 200 people signed up for that, I think, something like that. So we're expecting a reasonable turnout, though it's a free event. So what, half of those people show up, right? Whatever that might be. And then on the day before, we have a leadership summit, which is a paid event, which if you're actually listening now, we've got a couple of people actually, as long as Jennifer's here. Actually, I don't remember. Jennifer, what is your discount code?
It's ePodcaster. She had to jump for another meeting.
Oh, okay. So if you use Jennifer's discount code for ePodcaster, that's her Twitter handle, you get $110 off the ticket, and it ends up being $200 instead of $310. And then you'll get invited to some special networking, have access to all the video sessions from this Leadership Summit on demand, and of course can join us live for the sessions and ask questions or participate and meet the other participants and network them all live. And, it's more of a traditional online conference in that way.